So we're thrilled to have Rebekah Wilson with us today. She has over 25 years of experience as a dementia care specialist and trainer in elder care services, including hospice, home health care, and assisted living. Rebekah works with Teepa Snow as a mentor for certification courses and also is part of the consulting team for families. She's devoted her career to improving the quality of life for seniors and supporting those involved in their care. Artis has made 2026 the year of the power of play. And we were thrilled when Rebekah had this session that would fit right into our theme for 2026. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rebekah Wilson.
Thank you, and thank you guys for joining today. We had a professional continuing education event a couple of hours ago and had about 100 people across the country on Zoom for that. So hopefully you'll see some things trickle from that event as well. But this is going to be much more interactive, much more personalized. And what I wanted to do was kind of dive into what is play and dementia care, because those aren't two words that we always hear together. And then some ways to adapt activities to make them more failure free when someone's experienced brain change. So that's my goals, but certainly I'm open to what you guys might be bringing to the table. Since we do have a fairly small group, we could certainly leave some times for Q&A as well at the end. So if you're like me, you might want to write it in the chat so we can come back to it, or write it down there on a piece of paper. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully get myself in slideshow view. All right. So are you seeing a picture of a PowerPoint slide with people raising their hands?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks for the thumbs up, Beth, and the positive verbalization. So when we look at the word play, something drew you to this topic. What comes to mind when you hear the word play in dementia care? And you can unmute or write it in the chat. Or
Engagement.
Rachel. What else? Nice. Anyone else? Something that comes
lightheartedness.
Lightheartedness. Awesome, Stacy. Anybody else?
Times reframing.
Reframing. Tell me about that, Rebekah.
When my mom or somebody else with dementia asks a question maybe again and again and again, and I start to feel like stop asking that question, to do something playful with it and kind of go a different direction.
I love that. So
that's more
thinking
lighthearted
about
than frustrated.
Yeah, thinking about that. One of the symptoms with dementia, right? When we look at the different types of dementia, we look at Alzheimer's disease, that memory may be impacted early on. So someone may ask the same question or tell the same story. And so Rebekah's saying, instead of getting frustrated, reframing that to really thinking about, wow, this person's really trying to communicate something. What is the unmet need that they might be asking about? Or something that's really important to them if they're maybe telling us the same story over and over and over. So reframing it, I love that. Anyone else? Something that comes to mind when you hear play and dementia? That said fun in the chat. Anyone else? So those aren't two words that we often see together. And so when we had the professional event a couple of hours ago, really important for me to remind folks that this is not like treating someone like a child. It's not infantilizing. It's not childish stuff. It is, I mean, how can we incorporate play and reframe that? So many adults may resist the idea of play because it doesn't feel, professional enough, or it seems silly. And so again, I'm going to repeat, we're not talking about talking down to someone. We're not treating them like a child, but just reducing the pressure that they may feel and increasing autonomy and inviting participation from the person. So I often tell the story about my own grandmother when she had Alzheimer's disease, and I was not really understanding how to connect with her with the brain changes that she would have. So a lot of us connect with verbalization. Hi, how are you today? How was your day? What did you have for lunch? What did you do? And those verbal abilities sometimes change with dementia as dementia spreads to those temporal lobes, and that's our language center. So how can we play with purpose? So if you're looking at this slide as a family member, what would be a goal for you to, why would you attempt play with your person? Looking at these options, and maybe you have something besides these options.
To make them feel more relevant and that they still matter.
Yes, Beth, I love that. So make someone feel like they're still relevant and they still matter, because many times with dementia, as I'm losing those abilities or my brain is changing, do I still have those opportunities to feel important, like I'm helping someone, like I'm giving back? Have you found a way, Beth, and I'm not just going to pick on you, but I love that you brought this up. Have you found a way in your experience to help someone feel like they still matter, like they're still helping?
I often will go back to a memory, a time that I would share with my mom that I know that she really enjoyed. And I usually do get some kind of response, a spark. And then she feels then, I think, more engaged with me. So I try to bring up a past memory that I know she enjoyed.
So
Something
sounding
positive.
Kind of reflecting. I think of us as being a mirror to the person, reflecting back a time or a quality that we enjoy about them, that we appreciate.
Yeah. Or I'll thank her for everything that she did as a mom.
Oh, I love that.
I know that that's important to her, to feel thanked, like it is for most of us.
Exactly, Beth. Exactly. Like it is for most of us, right? And so reflecting back, Mom, I really appreciate how you always, and then fill in the blank, and reminding her about those qualities that you see. Not just that you saw, but that you still see.
Right. And it has a profound effect on me, my kids, how that influenced the whole, generations.
Yeah.
Because I know that she really wants, she always felt bad that she didn't cook the greatest meals. And to me, that's, I would let her know that, that she was a great mom. It didn't matter if the meals were perfect.
Yeah. Right. I love that. So, and is there an opportunity for some people even to make that into a joke? Well, I didn't learn my cooking from you, but, or when it's appropriate, are there opportunities to have that kind of engagement? Yeah. I love that. Anyone else, think about a way that you found to connect, maybe through engaging, something that you found that energizes, calms, connects, supports identity. Any of these that are here on the slide.
In my family, we always played with words. Those were like the running jokes of the household. So we still do that. And it's great because it makes my mom laugh. And when I find that she's not necessarily catching everything that's going on in the conversation or circumstance, she'll still come up with a smart ass remark that would be the punchline to our wordplay, at the right time. So that's a warm engagement for us to play with words.
Play with words. I love that. Yeah, you got one, Stacy, or Rebekah? Stacy just went, sorry.
Okay.
My mom, as her vocabulary has diminished, we found games. I don't think she still would be able to play Jenga, but for a while she was just enjoying this, and she would make up her own rules. I mean, but just like that was something she could do, was to physically take out the thing and put it in a different place. And sometimes she'll take it from the top and put it back in the bottom. And but she was able to participate and enjoy it and connect.
So a very physical game and takes a lot of concentration and thinking about which piece you could pull out and where you're going to put it. And I love
But
that.
it took off the pressure for her to know words.
Yeah. So doing something physical when words were changing, and you found a physical, and someone wrote in the chat, exercise. Daniel wrote in the chat, exercise, movement. Yeah. Because if our goal is to connect and continue that relationship, we want to try to find failure-free activities or ways that we can connect where they don't feel like, oh, I'm not able to do this or that. Anyone else?
My husband really reacts and responds well to music. And so I have a list of musicians that he likes and songs that he likes. And I play that. And I try to get him to dance. He never liked to dance that much anyway, but sometimes I'm successful.
So isn't that so important to know someone's lifelong tendencies too? Like he never liked to dance, but are you able to get him to move a little bit? Or someone that did always love music and bringing that music back to them, such a great way to connect. Anyone else? I can't see all of you on my screen, so I'm just trying to make sure I didn't lose anyone. Okay. So let's go back to this idea of play, because something drew you to this presentation, and I want to definitely make the distinction that we're not talking about, again, treating someone like a child, but it's like, how can I preserve dignity? How can I support autonomy and success, and really build that connection? That's what's so important, is we're wanting to connect with our loved one despite their changing brain. So you guys have mentioned several parts of the brain that are impacted, right? And so there's language, there's memory, there's hand-eye coordination that might be changing, spatial awareness that might be changing. And, you know, we look at all the parts of the brain that are changing, but what's still there that we can still maximize and still tap into to have a successful engagement. So what I wanted to do is go through some activities that I've tried with folks who are living with brain change, and you may have tried with your loved one. And I thought we would just kind of piece through, if they can't do something the way that we intended it, what is an adaptation that we could make? And so we'll go through a few of those. So for instance, if my grandmother used to love to play bridge, and then I study up on bridge, I'm going to go play with her, and I find out that she can't play bridge anymore. What am I going to do to try to make an activity where we can engage and play, but it's a failure-free thing for her? So we want to think about, why might the activity be too hard? What abilities still needed? How can we make it easier without making it childish? So we'll go through these a little bit at a time, and we're not going to just spend too much time on each slide, but thinking about playing a game, what's a way to make a modification with that? Sorting by color, sorting by suit. You know, hey, Mom, can you find all the 3s? Let's go through this and find the 4s. I remember when you used to play cards, and then you can use that as an opportunity to make a connection. Was it Beth, or who was saying that about reminding someone of their mom's characteristics? Like, I remember you used to always play cards, reminding them of that success. So playing a card game. Puzzles. How can we modify puzzles? Start with the edge pieces. That's what I do anyway, without dementia.
Yes.
Matching colors, different pieces, asking the person to hand you certain colors, or even just taking a puzzle piece and using it as a conversation starter. So I have more than several ideas here, but I wanted to just pause and give us a chance to open up the discussion. Is this something that you find yourself doing when you're connecting with your loved one, making those modifications, or is that something that's kind of hard for you?
Hmm.
My challenge with my husband, and I know we're all probably in different situations, but he has pretty advanced aphasia, so his ability to talk is incredibly limited. His ability to do new things is quite limited. If he never liked puzzles before, he's not going to start liking them now, even if they're
Sure.
100-piece puzzles and if they're only 10-piece puzzles. And other than walks and snacks and feeding, and we play some ball game. Well, we throw the ball to each other. We play frisbee, and he's still very physically agile. I'm finding it increasingly hard to find things that I can do with him, because the things you've mentioned, while they're pretty basic, they are beyond him right now.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, does anyone have an example of something that they've found that has been successful that might help Rachel? Because you all have experience too. I could go into teaching and telling, but I'd love to hear from you guys as well.
One thing, two things for me. One is, it's not exactly play, but it is sort of in the broader category of just connection. My mom and I, like, my mom's just not a snuggler, but as her capacity to cognitive function period is really just increasingly minimal. We're doing a lot of snuggling, a lot of just rubbing backs and hugging. And I mean, this wouldn't work for everybody, but I crawl into bed with her and we'll take a little nap or what, and just snuggle. And I mean, she really, she clearly appreciates the touch. I also got her a baby doll that she's really responding to the baby doll. So there's that. And then the other thing that comes to mind is, as her function declines, it used to be that I would take her out for lunch or we would find things to do, or but increasingly what makes sense is just to stay on site at Artis, and like she doesn't participate as much with the other people doing the things, but just to, like, that's a way for me and my mom to be in the same space, and for me not to be having to think of, like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? Just to kind of let the vibe of the activities carry our interaction.
So many things I love that Rebekah just shared. One, that idea, just going back to the first piece of just touch. I think as someone advances with dementia, they often get less and less touch. A lot of touch might be related to personal care. So helping them brush their teeth, washing their face, changing a brief. And we learn about failure to thrive in infants, right? We learn about failure to thrive with babies that aren't given a lot of touch. And yet when we think about someone at the other end of the life spectrum, how, are they still getting meaningful touch? So I love that, Rebekah, snuggling and sitting, just sitting, holding hands, putting your arm around them. What were you gonna say?
One more thing on that, for what it's worth, that I mean, my mom and I, I would never wish dementia on my mom or on anybody, but because we've had a strained relationship, this is the best, easiest, most connected chapter of our life together. And she would never, like, my mom before, there would never be a snuggling moment. And it took for me a little bit of, like, courage, frankly, to initiate and to, like, feel out whether or not she would be receptive to it, because there's been so much rejection and all that kind of tension in our relationship. But I was kind of emboldened because what's the worst that could happen? She won't remember it in 5 minutes anyway, either she'll receive it the way it was intended, or she won't, and we'll move on. But yeah, just so there's a sense in which just my own practice of playfulness can shift, because I don't have to assume the boundaries that had been in place before.
I feel like everyone just hold their mic and do a mic drop, because Rebekah just brought us to, like, a mic drop moment. I think so many times we limit ourselves because you know, we didn't have that kind of relationship before, or they've never been, you know, into whatever it might be. And yet, if we expand our options and really try to think outside the box, sometimes someone's going to surprise us. Rebekah's, you know, maybe you guys didn't have a snuggly relationship, but you threw it out there and said, well, give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? And now
She
you
didn't used
found
to, yeah. She didn't used to play with baby dolls either.
yeah.
That's cool.
How many children did your mom have, Rebekah? I'm curious. 2 children? Okay. I think about people who raise lots of kids, you know, and really love that caregiving for small children. And was that hard for you? I'm curious to think about bringing a baby doll. Was there part of you that like, that's childish, or I'm treating her like a child? So I know that's a fear for a lot of people.
Because I've seen other people do it. I've seen that it's been meaningful to other people. It's not something I would have thought of by myself, but and the first time I brought it, she wasn't that interested, but I kind of put it away for a little bit and brought it back a couple months later. And yeah, again, like as her cognitive function declines and as her ability she doesn't know who I am anymore. But so it's like the less she knows who other people are, the more drawn she is to this anonymous thing.
So I so many things that I'm loving about what you're sharing. One, that you brought the baby doll at one point. It didn't really work that well, but you tried it again. I think we think, well, that'll never work with my mom. That'll never work with my spouse. That will never work with whoever it is that we're thinking about right now. And yet you tried it again, you brought it back, and now that baby doll, it sounds like it's providing a lot of engagement and comfort for her. You know, she was still that mama bear somewhere in there, and you're accessing that. Some people, it's baby dolls. They also have those really realistic looking cats and dogs, if you guys have seen those, that actually purr. And
wow.
I love those. They're a little spendy, but I think they're worth the cost, because for someone that always loved animals, can really provide a lot of engagement, just sitting and petting the animal, hearing the animal, feeling the weight of it on them can be very powerful. Who else has had something that maybe you didn't think would have worked and it has? Or maybe something you've tried that didn't work that we could talk about. All right. I know sometimes people get shy on Zoom, so I was going to let the silence sit there for a minute if one had something that they wanted to share. I think, you know, again, with my own grandmother, kind of speaking along what Rebekah was sharing, I remember a situation where my grandmother had always pretty uptight, and, you know, things had order and they had a place, and if you spilled your drink, you'd be afraid that you'd get in trouble, kind of thing. And when she had dementia, there was a time I was having breakfast with her, and we were cutting up pancakes, and there was a bottle of syrup, and the bottle of syrup got knocked over on the table. And I remember my brain went, oh gosh, the syrup got knocked over. My grandmother started laughing and would not stop giggling. And it's that same idea, what you're sharing, Rebekah, is like, we hold them to this idea of who they are, or who they wanted to be. And in this situation, it actually created a really fun playtime where we were laughing about the spilled syrup, and she never would have been able to laugh about something like that previously. So I think a lot of times in dementia care, we think about losses, but are there opportunities to really have that connection and engagement that can be pretty powerful? When we think about play, a lot of us, again, think childlike, but can we think instead it's just a connecting with a lighter attitude, with a lighter spirit, with a lighter heart? So we think about connecting through the 5 senses. So music, how many of you have
Mhm.
tried music with your person? Has anyone tried music?
Mhm.
One of the great things that I've found, I can't carry a tune in a bucket, as they say, but I've never sung You Are My Sunshine with someone, or show me the way to go home, or take me out to the ball game, and they've said, you have a horrible singing voice. That's never happened in 22 years of caring with dementia. I've never had someone say, ooh, bad, that's no good. Typically what happens is they're smiling at the end of it. So what kind of successes have you guys found with music?
Well, sometimes I take my husband out in the car and we just drive around in a kind of a pretty place, and I'll just put the music that he likes on in the car, and it's just kind of a nice get out of the facility kind of activity.
So multi-sensory there, Rachel, right? Because there's the music, but there's also a change of environment. There's also, if it's a pretty day, not snowing, but feeling the wind on your face, feeling the sunshine, so many different senses that are involved in that. Beth, did I see you kind of raise your hand like you were going to share something?
Oh, no, I was just saying that I also, my mom would say everything she relates to a song that she once knew. It just, and I've heard that too, that music connects you to memories. So I'm just thankful for artists and everything that they do there, because I'm way on the other side of the country. But I am coming to visit her in 2 weeks, this coming week for 2 weeks. And usually what happens is I'm there all day with her, because, I can only visit her maybe twice a year. So I usually just, she can't walk. She's in a wheelchair. So I can't really, and I can't physically take her out, which I wish I could. But I just go along with her with every activity that she does. And I know that just me being there next to her, like we'll play bingo. That's one of her favorite. I think maybe because she gets candy, I'm not sure, but so just me being there present with her, and like the physical touch, I'll often rub her back, which we didn't ever do. She wasn't a touchy-feely person. So I could definitely relate to what Rebekah was saying. So I just am thankful for artists, and my mom would not miss any activity. She's first thing in the morning till they put her to bed.
She is on the go,
So
right?
I'm thankful. And everything that you're saying now, I can see the people that lead the activities, they know all this, because I'm saying, wow, they're practicing all this. They do a great job.
Wow, that's great feedback, Beth, there. I hope you're paying attention. I love that. I mean, Beth is sharing, the other Beth is sharing that your mom, you see that artist staff are really taking, dementia into their creation of their programming. So they're understanding that people may not be able to do, activities that they used to do, but really seeing integration of modifications. And hopefully, Beth, what you'll be able to do when you visit your mom next week, or spending that time with her, is, it sounds like she's someone who does like to be in the large group activities. For other people maybe who are introverts or more quiet people, don't go to those activities. Can you take the activity to them for a one-on-one engagement? And it sounds like your mom, Beth, is likes to be at those activities.
Yes. Thank you.
Touch and music, and thinking about what Rachel shared as far as taking, it was your husband, I think, Rachel, out, and Beth, you're saying that you can't take your mom out in the car, but could you take her outside to feel the sunshine on your face?
I do. Yeah.
Nice. Who else has found a way to make that connection in maybe a non-traditional way that you wouldn't have done before?
When me and my dad visited my aunt, which is her sister, his sister, we took a lot of items that were my grandfathers and great grandfathers from Scotland, and just would put,
Yes.
put it on the table. I remember that. So she
That's
went
good.
down memory lane, and I remember this and I remember that. So my dad's like, well, I don't want to take it every. So we started taking stuff like every other month of different things that had been brought over from Scotland, and it was really amazing because she would tell stories about every item. Oh, this was Uncle George's, and this is da 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 da. So that was a good way for my dad and her to just reminisce.
Yeah, I love that. So that item would actually take us to a different place in time, right? Many of us have had that experience with music. Like if you're in the grocery store and you hear on the music like a song from your late teens and 20s, and you're just standing there in the grocery store with your cart, and it's almost like you've been transported to a different place in time. And music can do that, holding the items. If I were just to bring an old family heirloom or whatever, like, oh, these were always in your dining room, and giving that the texture, the feel of things, something just like an antique that someone had in their home. And Beth Gardner is sharing that spurred that memory and actually provided an opportunity for that conversation. And I bet you learned some things, Beth, that you didn't know before, didn't you?
Oh yeah. I learned a lot about my Uncle George, who I had heard about, but she told all kinds of funny stories. It's really fun.
Yeah. Maybe things that Uncle George didn't want you to know about, but you learned them anyway. So thinking about touch, so we talked about music, and Beth brought up some touch things, and I'm showing a physical example, and Rebekah talked about snuggling. What other touch things do you think we might use if we're looking at the five senses as a way to build connection with someone or play? What are some other items that you might bring in for someone? Like, that's why I'm here, is because you're supposed to tell me, Rebekah.
Right.
What about flowers? What senses would you engage if you were to bring flowers in for someone?
Flowers. Yeah.
Smell.
I often bring her flowers every time I visit because I know she loves it. Or chocolate, which she loves.
Yes, I keep hearing that chocolate thing, right? We'll definitely get to taste in a minute for sure. But I think a lot of us are so caught up in like making something perfect or doing some craft and making it beautiful. Or I bring in flowers, I bring in a bouquet and give that to the person. But what if instead we just brought in some single flowers and we put together a bouquet together? Smell the flowers, put them in the vase together. Some of the most fun parts of engagement is in the doing with the person. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, award-winning bouquets, but could you just put them together, and that's a tangible thing with touch and smell and visual.
Yeah, that's great.
What about if you were to bring in like dominoes? Say someone used to love to play dominoes and they can't follow the game of dominoes anymore. What kind of activity or how might you engage someone if you brought in dominoes and they're not able to play anymore, but you still have those dominoes with you? What might you do with dominoes?
Well,
just like what you would do with what?
Well, just stand them up in a pattern so they can knock each other over. Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
Do it. Yeah. Just like with little kids when they're learning how to play with blocks.
Right.
You just kind of, do something on your own and then have them maybe do something. But I like your idea of setting it up and then have them push it to knock it down.
Yeah, so maybe doing the kind of the fall thing where you stack them up when they hit each other. Maybe you just try to match the numbers, but you're not actually asking them to play the game. Maybe you find the blanks versus the non-blank items, line them up by number order, count the dots. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to get creative sometimes when our loved ones have dementia and think outside the box of, well, no, we might not be able to play an hour-long game of dominoes anymore, but is there something that we can still do with them, with those items? And speaking of time, because I said an hour-long game of dominoes, like that might be fun for you and I with healthy brains. But what have you noticed about time when you engage with your loved one? Have you found that they like very long visits, or have you found that sometimes less is more, as they say? Has anyone found a magic amount of time? I know that when my grandmother had Alzheimer's, I would think a good granddaughter will visit for at least an hour at a time. And that hour was too much for her. And by the end of it, she's saying, sweetheart, isn't there somewhere else that you need to be? Like, get out of my hair already. So sometimes less is more when we think about engaging. Is there is there such thing as too much? And sometimes the answer is yes. What about pictures? So we thinking about the five senses. Who's brought in pictures with their loved one? Nice. Yeah. A couple of you have done that. And we want to steer away from the quizzing them. I'm not showing them a picture. Okay. Who is this? Who is this? It's not a quiz or a test, but instead it's, oh, look at you on your wedding day. What a gorgeous bride. You are so pretty. You look really in love there. And can we just engage by showing the picture and talking about it with them, but not using it as a quiz? Who is this? When was this? Where were we? Again, we're wanting to make things failure-free. So picture books. There's a great book that I love. It's in my bag when I visit anyone living with brain change. It's a book, you can get it on Amazon, and it's called The Sunshine on My Face. And it is short, simple sentences like, I love to feel the sunshine on my face. And it's a book that's made specifically for people with brain change, with dementia. And it's those simple sentences, and it invites conversation. So I love to feel the sunshine on my face. Hey, so-and-so, don't you just love when the weather finally breaks in Chicago and we can sit outside and enjoy the warm sun? The next page, or one of the statements in the book, is I love to eat warm apple pie and vanilla ice cream. So it's using that book as a way to engage and invite conversations.
Okay, thank you.
I highly recommend that book.
I'll get that.
What about physical things? How have you seen, maybe if your loved one is at an artist, or if you've found what kind of someone, I think Daniel had written earlier in the chat, exercise. What movement activities have you guys found to be successful, or a way to connect with your loved one? Talked about going in the car, taking them outside.
Yeah, I just have her, because I was a fitness instructor, and she's the one that actually kind of got me into that. She loves doing the exercise program at Artist. She won't miss it. Nice. And she should be doing it on her own just to keep her muscles, because she's in a wheelchair. But if I'll sit there, and we'll just be sitting in her room, and she'll show me, say, hey, do you want to do the exercises? And I'll do it with her, lifting her leg or lifting her arm. And I know that makes her feel really good, that she's accomplishing something.
So speaking to that long-term interest, She was
Mhm.
someone who enjoyed movement, enjoyed
Mhm.
activity. Again, it's not
Yeah.
about the performance of an hour
Right.
of
Yeah.
rigorous cardio,
Yeah, exactly.
but just some movement. And they have,
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many great videos. I highly recommend you guys looking at, YouTube for things to engage. There's a lot of people are using what's called cardio drumming now. And it is where you have those big exercise balls and they just take either like a
Huh.
pool noodle or a light stick and drum
Uh-huh.
on the cardio
Hmm.
ball.
Hmm.
There's a lot of research right now about that being good for the brain, good for the body.
Hmm.
The music, you kind of beat along to the sound of the music. Um,
Hmm.
that's something that's really good for people to get exercise as well as the mental stimulation.
Mhm.
Wanted to talk about, because many of you are sharing that you have a loved one with dementia, whether they're in an artist community or not. And I know a lot of family members start to fear, well, what about me? What if something were to happen with my own brain? And so I'm curious for you all,
Mhm.
what are you doing to take care of your own brain and keep yourself sharp
Mm.
and take care of yourself as care partners?
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes we're so busy putting care on the person that we're providing care for, but not really thinking about ourselves. So, what are you
Mhm.
guys doing for yourself right now?
I was kind of forced to because I was in a horrible accident, and then I suffered a partial brain damage with a severe concussion. And I went to a neurologist, a functional neurologist, for about 8 months. Um, and they set up for me to do brain games online. It's called HQ Brain HQ. And it's excellent. It's for people that have had concussions, even people with dementia and Alzheimer's. They find it's been really helpful. So it's all about eye movement and with brain and coordination. So I try to do that. And obviously, I'm trying to eat better because I know that has a big effect, and exercise, walking.
Yeah.
So mm,
So that old recipe is always true, right? Diet and
yep,
exercise, our physical health,
yeah,
and brain stimulation. So Beth, you're talking about it
mm,
like a specific app or a website that you can go
yeah,
and
website.
play brain games.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then there's so much research also on social interactions as we age. And
Mm-hmm.
we all lived through COVID. We saw what that isolation did. And as we age, the importance of social connections and how important that is in keeping your brain healthy as well.
Yeah.
And then everyone reach up and pat yourself on the back because you came to this class today and
Right.
you're
That's
thinking you're thinking about what you can do for your loved one
mm-hmm.
as well as for yourself, because having different ways to connect with your loved one is not only good for them but good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times as our loved ones experience changes with dementia, those connections get harder and harder, and there's a lot of grief that goes along with that, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of grief that goes along with those changes. And yet, if we can find ways still to make those meaningful connections, it really goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to open it up. I shared with the professionals in the earlier session a Maya Angelou quote, and I think we'll kind of wrap
Mm-hmm.
with that. And she said that I've learned people will forget what you said,
Okay.
people will forget what you did, but they will
Right.
not forget the way that you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about dementia, how does that relate to dementia, do you think?
Huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
think it's
someone doesn't
everything.
remember your
Yeah.
name or what their relation is to you
Yeah.
anymore,
True. Yeah.
but can they still feel that connection? Can they still feel
Mm-hmm.
meaningful? Can they still feel like they're giving back? And something that I shared with the earlier group as well was, how we initiate an activity, whether it's bingo or dominoes or sharing a bowl of ice cream. A lot of times we encourage, don't ask a yes or no question unless you're willing to accept no as an answer. So if I say to my loved one, hey, do you want to play cards? Do you want to go down to the music room? Do you want to? Many times what you and I are going to get is a no response. Part of brain change is our prefrontal cortex right here in our forehead. One of the skills up here is initiating activity. So initiating, getting moving. So family members will often say, my mom used to love to play the piano, or my mom used to love to go for walks, or my mom used to, whatever it might be, and she's no longer doing that. And that's when I teach about that front part of our brain, initiating activities, getting up and out of my chair and doing something, even if it's something that I've always loved to do, that may change with dementia. So how can you and I get them started? If we say, do you want to do this? We're going to get that no response. So instead we switch our wording a little bit. Let's go do this. Or I could really use your help. If I say to you, Beth Gardner, hey, Beth, I could really use your help. What does that do to a person? It's like, wow, I have something to offer. I'm useful. She needs me. And that really speaks to many of us as human beings. So, hey, I could really use your help. You're really good at sorting and organizing. I've got these cards and they're in a mess. Could we put them in number order or whatever it might be? I could really use your help is a great starting phrase. I could use your help. Let's go do this versus do you want to, when you might get that no response. What questions do you guys have? What questions did you bring today, or topics or thoughts that you thought, if I don't get this answered, I want my money back? Because I know you paid a lot to be here today. Any questions about dementia, about care, about artists? This is your time. Got a quiet.
I would just want to say, which might be a different experience. My mom was sort of living at home in her home. She didn't want to leave, and she was being so still for so many years so that she wouldn't get hurt. She was really limiting her activities and her experience of life. She's really flourishing at Artis. She's involved in the activities. The physical therapy has gotten her from a wheelchair to using a walker, and she's going to the activities and meals on her own. I'm just so grateful because my goal was for her to have an improved quality of life, and that's what's happening. We haven't gotten to a point where she is forgetting me, or really losing a lot of language. She tells me about the words that she can't find, but I'm grateful that I am still one of the people that she remembers, and we have, as has been mentioned before, a closer relationship now than we've ever had before. She's happy to see me. It's amazing, but I'm just making the most of this time and this experience, and the staff at Artis has been so wonderful to make sure Mom and I get to talk to each other long distance, FaceTime on a regular basis. And that helps her stay focused and gives me a chance to redirect her if she's starting to get a little bit confused or off focus, but just encouraging her to relax and have fun. She's retired. She doesn't have to worry about anything. Have a good time. And I just hope that she stays in this place where she's losing some language, but she continues to regain her physical abilities. And I just hope she continues in this place for quite a while. I see the little things changing, but I'm just so grateful she's in a safe place where she can have fun, and you guys are facilitating it beautifully.
Mm. That's so good to hear. And I think so affirming for you, Stacey, and the decision that you had to make. You know, it's very hard to consider out of home placement for someone, and yet what you saw was a much more limited existence at home, kind of trying to protect her from anything happening. Now she's at Artis, she's flourishing actually, and engaged a lot more than she was able to be at home. And
Definitely.
you know, that's what I love about a place like Artis that is strictly for people who are living with brain change. Most of our homes were not built for someone with dementia. And so everything down to the colors on the wall, everything down to the engagement activity takes dementia in mind. And so she's flourishing because she's in a place that was created for dementia. And that's just gorgeous. That's beautiful. I love that. No one ever said to me, gosh, I really should have waited 6 more months to place my loved one. Most people say the opposite is, well, we should have done this a long time ago. And it sounds like, Stacey, you're a testimony of that, of, you know, she's flourishing now. That's so cool.
Okay.
Anyone else? Something to
I'll say
share?
2 things.
Yeah.
I'll say just for brainstorming for anybody for whom this might apply. We've enjoyed having, you can't say the word because it'll go off over here, Alexa, in my mom's room. And that just offers a whole library of music to call on, and other things too. But increasingly it's just, and I actually said it, I program it to play an hour of music for her every day, whether she's in the room or not. So that, and then the other is just to the whole like freedom to play. My mom was diagnosed 6 years ago, right around the same time I met the man who would become my husband. And as I already mentioned, our relationship with my mom was fraught, and it didn't help that she was forgetting things, and we took that as being evasive, and she was being paranoid and aggressive and all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't an easy time for a relationship. But then here comes this diagnosis, which is like surprising, but makes sense. But it takes a while for the relationship to catch up to that new reality. And but in the meantime, my significant other comes into the picture, and he doesn't have all that baggage, but he has this awareness of her diagnosis, and he was just playful with her from the beginning, and he really like taught us how to be playful. So maybe not everybody is starting a new romantic relationship right at the same time that their mom gets dementia. But I'm just saying, like, I'm glad that that we were able to take cues from other people, including like the staff at Artis, and including like to let other people help redefine what my relationship to my mom looks like now.
Such a great example of our own self-limiting belief, you know, our own, she would never do this. And I'm sure Beth Gardner, I'm sure you've heard, you know, families say, well, my mom would never do this or that, or and then next thing you know, they're the ones leading that kind of activity. Those are our self-limiting beliefs that someone like you're sharing, Rebekah, came in without that baggage. You know, I often say dementia doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? We bring all that family history, all the personality things, and that comes into the relationship. And that can be, you know, add additional stress because caregiving isn't easy, even in a, you know, perfect care situation. If you've had a wonderful relationship with this person your whole life, still dementia puts a strain on it. And so we bring that history into the caregiving situation, and it can make it more challenging. But it sounds like you got to see the staff and your significant other coming in without that baggage. They were having some success, and you were able to see that. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that, Rebekah. And oh, and the technology piece. I'm glad you mentioned that too. We have literally the world at our fingertips, right? With Alexa and our smartphones and tablets that, you know, if Beth Gardner was talking about, was it Ireland or Scotland? And now we can pull up pictures of those places, or, you know, we just have so much technology that can be used. And Stacy, you were talking about those FaceTime calls, which the staff is helping you with, which is super helpful because this connection on a phone without the visuals can be really, really challenging when dementia's in the picture. But being able to see someone's face can be a lot more helpful. So I'm glad the staff is helping you with that. Very cool. Well, thank you guys for your time. Oh, sorry. Was someone
Sorry. No, that's okay. My experience is a little bit different because it's my sister, my younger sister, and she suffered a burst cerebral aneurysm. So she has short-term memory loss, but her long-term memory is outstanding. So, you know, I've done things with pictures, and I mean, she'll remember people. I don't remember who they are, right? But she remembers things that, once again, I seriously, I don't. She's right, but if you ask her, okay, what'd you have for breakfast?
Right.
She has no idea. So I don't know what to do with this in a way. I mean, we play cards. She's brilliant. You know, we play gin. We play, you know, I forget. Oh, blackjack. I'm like, you name it.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, but it's almost, you know, I feel like I have to somehow have her evaluated, because I don't know the boundaries of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But I do know she cannot. I mean, she could never live on her own. I mean, she would just be, you know, it's the situation that I'm sure everybody here is faced with, you know, it would be dangerous, you know, because she, you know, can't navigate for herself and, you know, pretty much do anything for herself. But it's just, it's an an odd thing. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know where I'm going to hit the roadblock. And when I visited her, like last week, it was like seeing her the same old. She had a newspaper and she was reading the newspaper. And, you know, so we talked, and she was, I mean, you, in a way, like if you saw her and spoke to her, you wouldn't know that there was anything wrong until you got further into the conversation. And she even, it's strange. She even picks up on, there's one person who's there who's this lovely woman. And it's kind of crazy, but there'll be a conversation and this woman will talk about her husband, blah, 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 right? My sister says to her, your husband's dead. I don't know how she remembered he is. I don't know how my sister remembered that and would get upset with this woman who was speaking about her husband as if he was still around. On the other hand, if I said to my sister, what'd you have for breakfast? She wouldn't remember. So, I mean, to me, like the mind is a funny thing. I have no idea what to do with this in a way. I don't know.
Is she in a care facility?
She's an artist.
She isn't an artist. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me say, just because for the sake of time, if anyone needs to log off, and Siobhan, I'm going to offer to connect with me offline.
Okay.
I certainly would be open to exploring, but what I would, you know, just for everyone to hear is I think, you know, releasing our idea of expectations. It sounds like you've made ways to connect and releasing expectations of what it used to be or what things used to look like.
I don't have expectations. I just have I don't know what I'm dealing with. So I absolutely don't have an expectation because I have no idea of what I'm going to find. So I'm looking for a baseline, and
Well, I just dropped my email address in the chat.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
And certainly would be happy to chat offline with you. And for the rest of you, I'll just say thank you for your time and attention, and happy engaging.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
you can find some good ways to connect with your loved ones.
Thank you, Rebekah.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rebekah.
Thank
you, Rebekah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all
Okay.
for your
Wait to meet everybody.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.